The worst mistake a man can make is staying loyal to a woman who keeps showing him he is not important. Folks, let us be real. You feel it when she pulls away. You feel it when she looks at her phone while you are speaking. You feel it when her replies get colder, her effort gets smaller, and her warmth starts feeling like something you have to earn. And instead of facing it, most men start explaining it away. She is busy. She is tired. She is stressed. Maybe I need to be more patient. Maybe if I give more, she will value me again. My friend, that is how a man loses himself. Not all at once, but piece by piece. Every time he chases attention that is no longer freely given. Every time he argues for respect that should already be there. Every time he lets her mood control his peace. Every time he stays in a place where his presence is treated like a convenience instead of a gift. This video is not about fixing her. It is about rebuilding you. We are going to break down the smart, stoic ways to respond when a woman does not value you, without begging, without rage, and without surrendering your dignity. You will learn when to pull back, when to stay silent, when to raise your standards, and when to walk away for your own peace. So subscribe to the channel, stay with me, and listen closely because this may be the reset you have needed for a long time. Let's get into it. Number 1. Stop chasing her attention. Folks, the first smart response when a woman stops valuing you is simple, but it will test every weak part of your ego. Stop chasing her attention, not because you hate her, not because you want revenge, not because you are trying to play some childish game. You stop chasing because chasing someone who has already started treating you like an option does not make her respect you more. It makes you respect yourself less. Let us be real, my friend. When a woman pulls away, most men panic. Her replies get shorter, so he sends longer messages. She stops calling first, so he checks in more. She cancels plans, so he makes himself even more available. She gives him dry energy, so he tries harder to bring back the warmth. In his mind, he is proving love. In reality, he is training her to believe his presence will remain no matter how little she gives back. Picture a man named Raymond, age 56, living in Dallas. He has been seeing a woman named Natalie, age 49. At first, Natalie is warm. She calls, laughs, asks questions, and makes Raymond feel wanted. But slowly her effort fades. She starts replying late. She leaves his messages sitting for hours. She cancels dinner twice, then acts like it is no big deal. Raymond feels the shift, but instead of stepping back, he leans in harder. He sends good morning texts. He asks if everything is okay. He rearranges his week around her schedule. The more he chases, the colder she becomes. Now Raymond thinks the problem is that he has not done enough. But the truth is, he has done too much for someone who is doing too little. He has made his attention cheap. He has made his time easy. He has made his emotional energy available without requiring mutual effort. And once a woman feels that you will stay no matter how little she invests, your value in that dynamic starts dropping. This is not about blaming women. This is human nature. People often stop valuing what they do not have to work for. If your attention is always there, it becomes background noise. If your loyalty has no boundary, it becomes something she expects instead of something she appreciates. If your presence is guaranteed, she does not have to fear losing it. And effort is usually reserved for what people know they can lose. A Stoic man understands this clearly. He does not chase warmth that has become one-sided. He does not beg for energy that used to come freely. He does not keep pouring into a cup with a hole in it. He pauses. He pulls his attention back. He returns to his own life, his health, his work, his mission, and his peace. Not to punish her, but to stop abandoning himself. And here is what happens when you stop chasing. The truth starts showing itself. If she values you, she will notice the distance and step forward with real effort. If she does not, she will fade away, because what she wanted was not you, but access to your attention. Either way you win, because confusion ends. So stop lying to yourself about who she was in the beginning. Look at who she is now. If her actions say you are not important, Do not keep auditioning for the role. Pull back with dignity. Let your silence speak. Let your absence test the reality. If this speaks to you, write this in the comments. I stop chasing. Stay close, folks, because the next part reveals why pulling back your energy can show you the truth faster than any argument ever could. Number 2. Pull back your energy. Folks, when a woman stops valuing you, your first instinct may be to give more energy, more attention, more patience, more emotional support, more explanations. You think if you pour harder, the connection will return to what it used to be. But let us be real, my friend. If your energy is being taken for granted, giving more of it will not restore your value. It will only teach her that your presence has no cost. Pulling back your energy is not revenge. It is not silent punishment. It is not some childish tactic to make her panic. It is self-respect in motion. It is the moment you stop feeding a dynamic that keeps draining you. When you keep showing up for someone who does not meet you halfway, you are not proving loyalty. You are proving that you will keep investing even when the return is empty. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That applies directly here. You cannot control whether she values you. You cannot control whether she chooses to respond with warmth, effort, or respect. But you can control where your energy goes. You can decide that your peace will not keep being spent on someone who treats your consistency like furniture in the room. Epictetus said, "It is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things." Many men are disturbed not only because she pulls away, but because they judge her distance as proof that they must work harder. That judgment is what traps them. They think, if I pull back, I will lose her. But a woman who only stays when you overextend yourself was never truly meeting you. She was benefiting from your imbalance. Here is the powerful part. When you pull back your energy, reality starts speaking. If she values you, she will feel the change and come forward with honest effort. Not manipulation, not crumbs, not a quick message, just to check whether she still has access. Real effort, clear communication, warmth that matches what she claims. But if she does not value you, your absence will not move her toward you. It will simply expose that she was comfortable receiving without giving. That exposure is painful, but it is freedom. Confusion keeps a man stuck because he keeps hoping. Clarity releases him because now he sees. Pulling back gives you that clarity. It shows whether she misses you or merely misses what you provided. It shows whether she wants connection or just convenience. It shows whether your presence was cherished or simply used. Now understand this clearly. Pulling back does not mean becoming cold to prove a point. It means redirecting energy to what strengthens you, your health, your work, your discipline, your friendships, your quiet routines, your own inner order. The energy you were wasting trying to be chosen must return to the man who was neglecting himself. That is not selfish. That is correction. A man cannot keep pouring from an empty cup and call it love. At some point, he must stop bleeding energy into a place that gives him no peace. A Stoic man does not chase emotional chaos. He observes it, steps back from it, and chooses what deserves his attention. That is how he protects his dignity without becoming bitter. He stays open to real connection, but unavailable to one-sided effort. If this speaks to you, write this in the comments. I protect my energy. Stay with me, folks, because the next part shows why letting her feel your absence can reveal more truth than any long conversation ever will. Number 3. Let her feel absence. Folks, sometimes the strongest thing a man can do is stop being there on demand, not to punish her, not to make her suffer, not to play some cheap silent game, but because a woman who has grown too comfortable with your constant presence may never understand your value until she feels the space where you used to be. Presence is a gift, my friend, and when you keep giving it to someone who no longer respects it, that gift turns into a burden on your own soul. Let us be real. Many men think being available is the way to be loved. They answer every call. They reply to every text. They fix every bad mood. They show up even when she gives almost nothing back. They think consistency will make her appreciate them. But consistency without reciprocity often becomes convenience. She stops seeing your presence as something chosen. She starts seeing it as something guaranteed. Picture a man named Douglas, age 58, living in Portland. He has been seeing a woman named Karen, age 51. At first, the connection feels mutual. She calls, she asks about his day, she makes time for him. But over time, Karen starts treating Douglas like background support. When she is lonely, she reaches out. When she is bored, she wants attention. When she has a hard day, she expects him to listen. But when Douglas needs warmth, effort, or presence from her, she is suddenly busy, distracted, or emotionally unavailable. For months, Douglas keeps showing up. He checks in first. He fixes the mood. He adjusts his plans. He tells himself, "This is what a good man does." But one evening after another, cold reply from Karen, he finally stops. Not angrily, not dramatically. He simply pulls his presence back. He stops initiating. He stops rescuing every silence. He stops making himself available to someone who has stopped meeting him halfway. And that absence tells the truth. At first, Karen does not notice. Then she feels the quiet. The morning text is gone. The emotional cushion is gone. The man who used to fill every gap is no longer standing there with open hands. Now she has to face the space she created. She either steps forward with real effort, or she proves that she only valued Douglas when he was useful. Either way, Douglas gets clarity. That is why absence is powerful. Words can be debated. Long messages can be twisted. Emotional speeches can be dismissed. But absence cannot be argued with. It simply changes the room. It shows whether someone misses you or only misses what you provided. It shows whether your presence mattered or whether it was just a convenience she got used to leaning on. Now, understand this clearly. Letting her feel absence does not mean ghosting with cruelty. A Stoic man does not disappear to manipulate. He steps back because his energy is no longer being honored. He gives space because space reveals truth. He allows silence because silence can expose what constant availability keeps hidden. This will feel uncomfortable at first. You may feel the urge to reach out. You may wonder if you are being too cold. You may feel lonely. But that loneliness is not punishment. It is the space where your self-respect starts breathing again. In that space, you remember that your life is not built around her reaction. If this speaks to you, write this in the comments. My presence is earned. Stay close, folks, because the next part reveals how to see who actually steps forward when you stop carrying the whole connection alone. Number 4. See who steps forward. Folks, when you pull back your energy, the next lesson is simple. Watch who steps forward, not who talks, not who posts something indirect, not who sends a lazy message just to see if you are still available. Watch who makes real effort. Watch who notices the space and chooses to meet you with clarity, maturity, and respect. Because when a woman does not value you, your absence does not create the truth. It reveals the truth that was already there. Let us be real, my friend. A lot of men are afraid to step back because they think silence will make them lose her. But if you lose someone simply because you stopped doing all the emotional labor, what did you really lose? If the connection only survives when you are chasing, explaining, fixing, initiating, and carrying the weight, then it was not mutual. It was dependent on your overextension. That is not love. That is imbalance. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best way to avenge yourself is not to be like that." This matters here because when a man feels undervalued, his ego wants to react. He wants to punish, test, provoke, or make her feel what he felt. But that is not Stoic strength. A stronger man does not mirror neglect with bitterness. He steps back with control and observes what reality does without his constant interference. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." You cannot control whether she steps forward. You cannot control whether she suddenly understands your value. You cannot control whether she chooses effort or indifference, but you can control whether you keep handing yourself to someone who has stopped showing up. That is where your freedom begins. Now understand this clearly. When you stop carrying the connection, one of two things happens. Either she steps forward or she lets the distance grow. If she steps forward with genuine effort that matters, she communicates clearly. She asks what changed. She takes responsibility. She does not just toss you a crumb of attention and expect you to run back grateful. She meets the moment like an adult. That is a woman worth listening to. But if she does not step forward, if she only reaches out when bored, lonely or curious, whether she still has control, then you have your answer. Do not dress that up as confusion. Do not tell yourself she is just busy for the 50th time. People make effort for what they value. When someone values access to you, they protect it. When they only value the comfort you provide, they complain when it disappears but do nothing real to restore it. This is where many men fail. They see one small message and mistake it for effort. She says, "Hey, stranger," and he thinks the connection is back. She likes a post, and he thinks she misses him. She sends a soft line at night, and he forgets the pattern. No, folks. Do not confuse attention with investment. Attention is easy. Investment costs something: time, accountability, honesty, change. If you want to go deeper with this kind of Stoic relationship discipline, join the channel membership. It is where we build the mindset that helps a man stop chasing crumbs, read behavior clearly, and protect his dignity without becoming bitter. If this speaks to you, write this in the comments. I watch who steps forward. Stay close, folks, because the next part reveals why a man should never argue for respect when his standards can speak louder than his explanations. Number 5. Never argue for respect. Folks, the moment you find yourself arguing for respect, you have already stepped onto the wrong ground. Respect is not something a man should have to beg for, explain for, write long paragraphs for, or defend like a case in court. Either a woman understands the value of your presence through how she treats you, or she does not. And if she does not, more talking will not make her see it. It will only show her that you are still trying to be chosen by someone who is already treating you like an option. Let us be real, my friend. When a man feels undervalued, his first instinct is often to explain. He tells her how much he has done. He reminds her how loyal he has been. He points out the late replies, the cold tone, the broken plans, the lack of effort. He thinks if he can just make her understand, she will suddenly care. But here is the hard truth. Most people already know when they are treating you poorly. They may deny it. They may minimize it. They may turn it around on you. But deep down, they know. Picture a man named Dennis, age 57, living in Cleveland. He has been dating a woman named Carla, age 50. At first, Carla admired his steadiness. She liked how he showed up, listened, and made time for her. But over time, she started taking that consistency for granted. She cancelled plans late. She answered with dry messages. She rolled her eyes when Dennis brought up something serious. Dennis kept trying to explain. He sent careful texts. He asked for better communication. He reminded her that respect mattered to him. But every conversation ended the same way. Carla would say he was being too sensitive, and Dennis would walk away feeling smaller. Then one night, Dennis finally stopped arguing. Carla dismissed him again in the middle of a conversation, and instead of defending himself, he got quiet. He looked at her calmly and said, "I am not going to keep explaining why basic respect matters." Then he left. No yelling, no insult, no dramatic speech, just a boundary with legs. That is the difference. A weak man argues for respect. A grounded man demonstrates that disrespect has consequences, not punishment. Consequences. If she speaks to you carelessly, she does not get full access to your warmth. If she treats your time like nothing, she does not keep getting your time. If she keeps dismissing your concerns, she does not get to keep enjoying your loyalty like nothing happened. This is not cruelty. This is order. A man who keeps giving full access after repeated disrespect is not being loving. He is teaching her that his standards are only words. This is Stoic strength in real life. You do not need to raise your voice. You need to raise your standard. You do not need to convince her of your worth. You need to live in a way that proves you already know it. When you stop arguing, you stop feeding the dynamic that made you feel powerless. You stop making your dignity dependent on whether she finally understands. Now, understand this clearly. Communication matters. A mature man can speak once clearly and calmly. He can say, "This does not work for me." But after that he watches behavior. If she adjusts, good. If she keeps repeating the same disrespect, your next move is not another speech. Your next move is distance. If this speaks to you, write this in the comments. I do not argue for respect. Stay with me, folks, because the next part reveals why raising your standards will always speak louder than raising your voice. Number 6. Raise standards, not voice. Folks, raising your voice is what a man does when he feels his standards are not being respected, but he has not learned how to enforce them. He gets louder because he feels powerless. He repeats himself because he feels unheard. He sends longer messages because he thinks more words will create more respect. But let us be real, my friend. A raised voice may create attention for a moment, but raised standards create change. When a woman does not value you, the weak move is to argue harder. The strong move is to become less available to disrespect. You do not need to shout to prove you are serious. You do not need to break down emotionally to prove you were hurt. You do not need to explain the same boundary 10 different ways. A man with standards speaks once calmly, clearly, and with weight. Then his behavior does the rest. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like that." That matters here, because when someone treats you with coldness, dismissal, or disrespect, your ego wants to match the energy. It wants to snap back. It wants to make her feel small, because she made you feel small. But a Stoic man does not lower himself to the level of the chaos in front of him. He does not become disrespectful to prove he deserves respect. He stays composed and lets his standards speak. Epictetus said, "If someone succeeds in provoking, you realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." That line should stay with every man who keeps getting pulled into emotional fights. If her eye roll makes you explode, she now knows where the button is. If her cold tone makes you chase, she now knows what controls you. If her silence makes you send paragraphs, she now knows you will do emotional labor even when she gives nothing back. Raising your standard means removing those buttons from her hands. Now, understand this clearly. Standards are not threats. A standard is not, "You better respect me or else." That is insecurity, trying to sound strong. A real standard is quiet. It says, "I do not stay where I am repeatedly dismissed. I do not keep giving warmth to someone who uses it and returns coldness. I do not continue conversations where disrespect is the tone. I do not keep rearranging my life for someone who treats my time like it has no value." That kind of standard does not need volume, it needs consistency. If she disrespects you and you stay the same, your standard is just a sentence. If she crosses the line and you keep giving full access, your boundary is decoration. But if your behavior changes, when respect disappears, now your standard has weight. Now she learns that access to you is connected to how she treats you. This is where many men fail. They announce standards but do not live them. They say they are done, then reply 5 minutes later. They say they will not tolerate disrespect, then tolerate it again the next night. They say they value peace, then keep entering the same fight. A woman does not learn from what you claim. She learns from what you consistently allow. So raise the standard, lower the noise, speak calmly, act clearly. If she meets you with maturity, there may be room to repair. If she keeps testing how much disrespect you will absorb, step back without drama. Your peace is not a debate stage. If this speaks to you, write this in the comments. My standards speak. Stay close, folks, because the next part reveals why staying emotionally cool makes you impossible to drag into games that used to control you. Number 7. Stay emotionally cool. Folks, staying emotionally cool is not about acting like you do not care. It is not about becoming numb, cold, or arrogant. It is about refusing to let another person's mood become the steering wheel of your life. When a woman does not value you, she may not always say it directly. Sometimes it shows in the tone, the delay, the eye roll, the dismissive laugh, the sudden silence, or the way she acts, like your concern is an inconvenience. And in that moment, my friend, your reaction tells her everything. Let us be real. Most men leak power through reaction. She ignores a message and he sends 3 more. She gives him a cold answer and he starts explaining himself. She makes a sharp comment and he raises his voice. She pulls away and he panics. He thinks he is being honest. He thinks he is showing passion, but what he is really showing is that his inner peace is controlled by her behavior. And once a woman sees that the dynamic changes, she now knows where the buttons are. Picture a man named Franklin, age 55, living in Tampa. He has been dating a woman named Elise, age 48. In the beginning, Elise admired his calm. She said he made her feel safe. But over time, she started testing that calm. One night, she gives him a dry reply after canceling plans. Another time, she makes a sarcastic comment about him being too serious. Then, during dinner, she looks at her phone while he is speaking. The old Franklin would have reacted. He would have snapped, accused, or given a long speech about respect. But this time, he does something different. He pauses. He puts his fork down. He looks at her calmly and says, "I am not interested in competing with your phone." Then he leans back and lets the silence sit. No anger, no begging, no emotional spill, just a quiet statement from a man who is not going to perform for basic attention. Elise feels the shift immediately. Franklin did not explode, but he did not tolerate the disrespect either. That is emotional coolness. This kind of control is powerful because it breaks the old pattern. When someone expects you to react and you stay composed, the game loses momentum. They cannot pull you into chaos if you refuse to enter it. They cannot make you dance to their mood if you remain rooted in your own. That is the difference between emotional honesty and emotional dependence. You can feel hurt without making hurt your master. You can feel anger without handing anger your voice. You can feel disappointment without collapsing into neediness. A Stoic man understands that space exists between trigger and response. That space is where power lives. She can act cold. She can test. She can dismiss. But you decide whether your next move comes from pride or from discipline. You decide whether you become louder or clearer. You decide whether you chase her reaction or protect your peace. Now, do not confuse coolness with passivity. You are not swallowing disrespect. You are not pretending nothing happened. You are simply responding from command instead of impulse. Sometimes that means speaking one clean sentence. Sometimes it means ending the conversation. Sometimes it means walking away without drama. But it never means begging someone to value you while they are showing you they do not. If this speaks to you, write this in the comments. I stay cool. Stay with me, folks, because the next part reveals why rebuilding your own life is the strongest way to stop depending on her attention for your peace. Number 8. Rebuild your own life. Folks, when a woman does not value you, the most dangerous thing you can do is make her reaction the center of your life. If your mood rises when she texts and collapses when she does not, you are no longer leading yourself. If your confidence depends on whether she compliments you, chooses you, touches you, or makes time for you, then your peace is no longer yours. You have handed it to someone who may not even respect the weight of what she is holding. Let us be real, my friend. A man starts losing himself when his whole world begins orbiting around one woman's attention. He stops training. He stops seeing friends. He starts delaying his goals because he is too busy analyzing her mood. He checks his phone like a man waiting for permission to breathe. He becomes less focused, less disciplined, less alive. And then he wonders why she values him less. The answer is painful but simple. He stopped living like a man with a life. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That means your strength cannot depend on her warmth. It cannot depend on her reply. It cannot depend on whether she is in a good mood today. Your strength has to come from what you control: your habits, your body, your money, your mission, your word, your discipline, your ability to wake up and move forward, even when someone else is not giving you the validation you wanted. Epictetus said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That is the starting point for rebuilding your life. Do not ask, "How do I make her value me again?" Ask, "What kind of man did I stop becoming while I was chasing her attention?" Did you stop keeping promises to yourself? Did you stop building your body? Did you stop improving your finances? Did you stop reading, learning, leading, creating, and strengthening your mind? That is where the repair begins. A man who rebuilds his life becomes less available to emotional confusion, not because he is cold, but because he is busy becoming solid. He has a morning routine. He trains, even when he does not feel like it. He handles his work. He cleans up his finances. He sharpens his skills. He returns to friendships that make him stronger. He spends time alone without treating solitude like a punishment. Slowly, his energy changes. He stops begging because he is no longer empty. This is why rebuilding your life is one of the strongest responses to being undervalued. It shifts the question from, "Why does she not choose me?" to, "Am I choosing myself?" And when you start choosing yourself with action, your whole presence changes. You speak differently. You walk differently. You stop tolerating crumbs because you are no longer starving. You stop chasing her validation because you are building a reality where you approve of yourself. Now understand this clearly. Rebuilding your life is not revenge. You are not improving to make her regret anything.